The colony on New Jeju was burning. Admiral Dae-jung Kim stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the smoke rise from the planet below. His hands gripped the metal railing so hard his knuckles turned white. Behind him, his crew worked in silence. Everyone knew what had happened. Everyone knew what it meant. 4,000 people were dead. Men, women, children. They had been farmers, teachers, doctors. They had been building a new life on a peaceful world far from Earth. Then the Thane privateers came. The Thane were one of the powerful species in the Galactic Council. Their ships arrived without warning. They demanded taxes. The colonists had no money to give. So the Thane took what they wanted and killed anyone who resisted. Kim had wanted to respond immediately. He had ships. He had weapons. He had trained soldiers ready to fight. But Earth's government ordered him to stand down. They said the Galactic Council would handle it. They said there were proper procedures. They said humanity had to follow the rules. So Kim waited. He waited while Ambassador Tae Yang-hong traveled to the Council headquarters. He waited while Hong presented evidence of the massacre. He waited while the Council debated. And then the answer came back. The colony had been in disputed territory. The deaths were acceptable collateral damage. No punishment for the Thane. Instead, humanity was fined for unauthorized settlement. Kim remembered the day humanity joined the Galactic Council 73 years ago. Everyone on Earth had celebrated. They thought they were joining a community of peaceful species. They thought they would be equals among the stars. They were wrong. From the beginning, the old species treated humans like servants. The Vrel sovereignty controlled all the advanced technology. They sold it to humans at enormous prices. They made humans sign contracts that prevented human scientists from improving anything. The Thane Collective controlled the military. They told humans where they could go and where they could not. They decided which human colonies were legal and which were not. For 73 years, Earth's leaders had played the game. They bowed. They apologized. They paid fines. They followed every rule. They believed that if humans worked hard and proved themselves, the Council would eventually treat them fairly. Kim had believed it too once. Not anymore. His communicator buzzed. It was Dr. Hana Cho, the chief advisor to Ambassador Hong. Her face appeared on the small screen. She looked exhausted. The ambassador is returning to Earth, she said. He wants to meet with the Solar Parliament immediately. What did the Council say? Kim asked, though he already knew. They laughed at him, Cho said quietly. The Thane representative actually laughed when he showed pictures of the dead children. They said humans should know their place. Kim closed his eyes. He had seen many things in his 54 years. He had fought in border skirmishes. He had watched friends die. But this was different. This was not war. This was murder without consequence. This was cruelty without justice. The Parliament will vote, Cho continued. But I think we both know what the result will be. Kim nodded. He looked at the planet below one more time. Then he turned to his crew. All ships, he said into his command channel, return to Earth and prepare for new orders. 3 days later, the Solar Parliament met in Geneva. Every representative from every human colony attended. Ambassador Hong stood before them and told them everything. He showed them the evidence. He played the recordings of the council meeting. He showed them how the Thane delegate had smiled while describing the deaths. When he finished, the chamber was silent. Then the voting began. It was unanimous. Not a single voice opposed. The order was simple. Humanity would no longer follow council authority. Humanity would defend itself by any means necessary. If the council would not provide justice, humanity would take it. Kim received his new orders that night. Captain Jae-won Park, commander of the Special Forces, received his. Engineer Hye-jin Lee at the Mars shipyards received hers. Dr. Cho began sending secret messages to other species who suffered under council rule. Every human in the military, every scientist, every diplomat knew what was coming. They had tried peace. They had tried negotiation. They had tried following the rules. None of it worked. The council did not respect weakness. They did not reward patience. They only understood strength. The Galactic Council did not take the Human Declaration seriously. The Vrel High Command discussed it briefly and dismissed it. The Thane War Council laughed. They had seen other species try to rebel before. Those species always surrendered when the Council sent its ships. Humans would be no different. They were young, emotional creatures with short lives and limited technology. A show of force would make them obey. The Council prepared a compliance fleet. 200 warships. It was standard procedure for dealing with difficult species. The fleet would arrive at Earth, orbit the planet, and demand surrender. The humans would see the overwhelming force and submit. It always worked that way. But the Council did not know what humanity had been doing for the past 73 years. They did not know about the secret shipyards hidden in asteroid belts. They did not know about the research stations disguised as mining operations. They did not know that every human scientist had been studying Council technology, finding its weaknesses, improving it. They did not know that humans did not think like other species. Humans did not accept their place in any hierarchy. Humans changed the hierarchy. On Mars, Engineer Lee walked through the hidden shipyard. Row after row of warships stretched before her. They looked similar to Council designs, but they were better. Faster engines, stronger weapons, better shields, and most importantly, they did not need the Council's jump gate network. Human ships could go anywhere. She had been working on these ships for 20 years. She had been told it was impossible. Council technology could not be improved. The patents were locked. The designs were perfect, but Lee did not accept impossible. She studied. She experimented. She failed many times. Then she succeeded. Now 500 warships waited in secret locations throughout the solar system. 500 ships that the Council knew nothing about. 500 ships that would show the Council they had made a terrible mistake. Admiral Kim stood in the command center, looking at the tactical display. The Council's compliance fleet was 3 days away. 200 ships against Earth's known defenses. The Council expected an easy victory. They would get a war. All ships report ready, Captain Park said beside him. We can deploy in 30 minutes, Kim nodded. 73 years of humiliation. 73 years of being treated as lesser beings. 4,000 dead on New Jeju. All of it ended now. When they arrive, Kim said quietly, we give them one chance to leave. 10 minutes. If they refuse, we show them what happens when you push humans too far. The fleet arrived on schedule. 200 Council warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of Earth's system. Their commander, Frel Marshal Thenis, opened a communication channel. His message was broadcast to Earth and all human colonies. Humans of Earth, Thenis said in the Common Council language. You have violated Council law. You will surrender immediately. Disarm your defenses. Prepare for occupation. If you resist, your world will be punished. You have 1 hour to comply. The message ended. Thenis sat back in his command chair, satisfied. The humans would surrender soon. They always did. Then his sensors officer made a confused sound. The sensor display lit up. Ships were appearing all around them. Not 20 or 30 ships, hundreds of ships. 500 human warships in perfect formation, surrounding the Council fleet completely. Admiral Kim's voice came over every communication channel. Marshal Thenis. Kim said calmly, you have 10 minutes to leave our system. After that, we will consider your presence an act of war. Your choice. Thenis stared at his display in shock. This was impossible. Humans did not have this many ships. Humans did not have this kind of technology. His intelligence had been certain of it. But the ships were real. And they were armed. The 10-minute deadline began counting down. The Council had pushed humanity too far. Now they would learn what that meant. Marshal Thenis stared at the countdown timer. 8 minutes remained. Around his fleet, 500 human warships waited in perfect formation. His tactical officer had analyzed the vessels. The designs were similar to Council ships, but different. Modified. Improved somehow. His second officer spoke nervously. This is impossible. Our intelligence report said humans had maybe 50 warships, old designs, weak weapons. Thenis knew the intelligence had been wrong. Completely wrong. The question was how. How had humans built this fleet without the Council knowing? How had they hidden it? And more importantly, what else had they hidden? His communications officer interrupted his thoughts. Marshal, orders from Council Command. They say to maintain position and demand surrender. They say humans are bluffing. Thenis looked at his display again. 500 ships. That was not a bluff. But orders were orders. He opened the communication channel. Human commander, he said, trying to sound confident. The Galactic Council does not negotiate with rebellious species. Power down your weapons and surrender. You cannot win this fight, Admiral Kim replied immediately. 7 minutes, Marshal. I suggest you use them wisely. On Earth, in a secure facility beneath the Mars shipyards, engineer Hai-Jin Lee monitored the situation. Around her, dozens of technicians worked at computer stations. They were controlling something the Council fleet could not see. Something invisible. One technician reported the status. Stealth ships in position, behind their formation. They have no idea we are here. Lee allowed herself a small smile. The visible fleet was impressive. 500 warships would intimidate anyone. But the real advantage was the ships the Council could not see. 50 stealth destroyers, including Captain Park's flagship, had moved into position behind the Council fleet. They were using technology the Council thought impossible, a combination of human stealth design and modified Council phase shifting. On the Council sensors, they simply did not exist. This was the result of 73 years of secret work. When humanity joined the Council, they had been forced to sign technology agreements. Those agreements said humans could not modify Council designs. They could not develop new weapons systems. They could not create independent, faster-than-light drives. The Council wanted to keep humans dependent. They wanted to control human development. But the Council made one critical mistake. They thought humans would obey. Lee had been a young engineer when she started working on the secret projects. She and thousands of other scientists had been recruited quietly. They worked in hidden facilities. They used cover stories. Mining operations that were actually research stations. Civilian ships that were actually military prototypes. Asteroid bases that were actually weapons development labs. They took Council technology apart, piece by piece. They studied how it worked. Then they made it better. Council shields were strong against energy weapons, so humans developed railguns that fired solid projectiles at incredible speeds. Council sensors could detect most ships, so humans created stealth technology. Council computers were powerful, so humans developed artificial intelligence that could think faster and adapt quicker. The Council species were ancient. They had been using the same technology for thousands of years. They improved it slowly, carefully, over centuries. They thought their way was the only way. They could not imagine that younger species might innovate faster. They could not imagine that desperation creates genius. A technician announced the time. 5 minutes. Lee switched her display to show Captain Park's view. His ship, the Incheon's Blade, hung in space directly behind the Council flagship. Park's voice came through her headset. Target lock confirmed on 15 capital ships. Primary weapons ready, waiting for the Admiral order. Park was 38 years old and had spent his entire career preparing for this moment. He commanded the best soldiers humanity had. His special forces teams had trained in secret for decades. They knew every weakness in Council military doctrine. They had studied every battle the Council had ever fought. They knew the Council always used the same tactics. Overwhelming force in rigid formations. Predictable. Traditional. Effective against species who fought the same way. Humans did not fight that way. Humans adapted. Humans surprised. Humans cheated. Marshal Thenis watched his countdown reach 3 minutes. He was starting to worry. Council Command had sent him here with 200 ships because that was standard procedure. 200 ships were always enough. They had crushed rebellions before with less. But something felt wrong. The humans were too confident. Too calm. His tactical officer spoke nervously. Marshal, I am detecting unusual energy signatures. Very faint, behind us. But my sensors cannot get a clear reading. Thenis felt ice in his stomach. Behind them? Nothing should be behind them. They had approached from that direction. Unless the humans had been waiting there all along, the communications officer announced the time. 2 minutes. While the standoff continued, Dr. Hana Cho was working on a different kind of warfare. She sat in a secure room with a communication device designed to be untraceable. On her screen were representatives from 3 species. The Melkari, insectoid beings enslaved by the Thane for 3 centuries. The Torvan, reptilian miners who had been exploited by the Vrel for generations. and the Kellys, a peaceful species forced to pay tribute to the Council. The Melkari Queen spoke with caution. "What you are proposing is dangerous. The Council will punish us if we are caught communicating with you." Cho replied calmly. "The Council is punishing you already. They take your resources. They control your technology. They decide your fate. We are offering you something different: partnership, freedom, a chance to determine your own future." The Torvan elder leaned forward. His scales were scarred from decades of mining work. "Humans are brave, but you are few. The Council is many. They will crush you." Cho responded with conviction. "Perhaps. But we will fight anyway. And if we succeed, we will change everything. The Council maintains power because everyone believes they are invincible. If we prove they are not, others will find courage to resist. Join us. Even if you cannot fight, share information. Tell us what happens in Council space. Help us build a network of species who want change." The three species looked at each other. This was a moment that could reshape the galaxy. For thousands of years, the Council had ruled through fear and overwhelming force. Rebellions had been tried before. All had failed. But no species had ever been as prepared as humanity. No species had ever been as angry. The Melkari Queen gave her answer. "We will think about your offer. But first, we will watch what happens at Earth. If you survive, we will talk again." Cho nodded. It was enough. Seeds had been planted. Now humanity had to prove those seeds could grow. At Earth, the timer reached 1 minute. Admiral Kim stood on his bridge, watching the Council fleet. They had not moved. They had not powered down weapons. They were going to fight. Kim had hoped they would be smart enough to leave. He had given them a chance. They had refused it. Kim spoke quietly to his fleet. "All ships, prepare for combat. Weapons free on my mark." Around Earth, 500 human warships charged their weapons. Behind the Council fleet, 50 stealth destroyers did the same. In hidden bases throughout the solar system, thousands of automated defense drones activated. On the ground, missile batteries locked onto targets. Humanity had spent 73 years preparing for this moment. Every resource, every innovation, every lesson learned from studying Council technology. The Council thought humans were primitive. They thought humans were weak. They thought humans would surrender when faced with superior force. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The timer reached 0. Marshal Thenis, following his orders from Council Command, opened fire on Earth's orbital stations. Dozens of energy beams lanced out from his fleet. They struck human shields and exploded in brilliant flashes of light. When the light cleared, the stations were still there. Their shields had held. The Council weapons had done no significant damage. Thenis stared in disbelief. Council weapons always overwhelmed primitive shields. Always. What had humans done? Then, from behind his fleet, 50 stealth ships appeared on his sensors all at once. They had been there the entire time, invisible, waiting. Now they opened fire. Captain Park's railguns fired first, solid projectiles moving at a fraction of light speed. No energy signature, no warning. They passed through Council shields like the shields were not there at all. Because Council shields were designed to stop energy weapons, nobody used kinetic weapons anymore. Nobody except humans. 15 Council capital ships were hit in the first salvo. Their hulls ruptured. Their systems failed. They began spinning out of control. Admiral Kim's voice echoed across all channels. "All human forces, engage. Show them what happens when you threaten our home." The Battle of Earth had begun, and the Galactic Council was already losing. The space around Earth became a storm of light and destruction. Marshal Thenis tried to restore order to his fleet, but chaos had already taken hold. 15 of his capital ships were damaged or destroyed in the first minute. His careful battle formation was breaking apart. "All ships reform defensive positions," he shouted into his command channel. "Focus fire on the stealth vessels." But the human stealth ships were already moving. They did not stay in one place like normal warships. They hid and disappeared. They attacked from unexpected angles. They worked together in small groups targeting weak points in the Council formation. This was not how space battles were supposed to work. The Council had rules, formations, procedures. The humans ignored all of it. Captain Park commanded his squadron from the Incheon's blade. His tactical display showed the entire battlefield. He could see where the Council ships were strong and where they were weak. He could predict their movements because they always moved the same way. Predictable, traditional, fatal. Target those 3 cruisers on the left flank, he ordered his squadron. Railguns full salvo. Then jump to position 7 and reload. His ships fired together. 12 railgun shots in perfect coordination. 3 Council cruisers exploded. Before the Council could respond, Park's squadron vanished from sensors. They had jumped to a different position using their independent faster-than-light drives. Something Council ships could not do without using jump gates. Admiral Kim watched the battle from his command ship. Everything was going according to plan. Better than expected, actually. The Council fleet had more ships, but numbers meant nothing if you could not bring them to bear effectively. The Council fought like they always fought. Rigid formations. Overwhelming firepower. Direct confrontation. Humans fought differently. They had studied Earth's own military history. Submarine warfare. Fighter jet tactics. Guerrilla operations. They had taken those principles and adapted them for space combat. The result was something the Council had never faced before. An enemy that refused to fight fair. Deploy the drone swarms, Kim ordered. Target their command vessels. From hidden positions throughout the solar system, thousands of small combat drones launched. Each one was no bigger than a car. Each one carried a single powerful warhead. And each one was controlled by an artificial intelligence that could make decisions faster than any living pilot. The drones swarmed toward the Council fleet like angry insects. Council point defense systems tried to shoot them down, but there were too many. They came from all directions. They moved unpredictably. For every 10 drones destroyed, 3 got through, and 3 was enough. On his flagship, Marshal Thennis felt the ship shake as drones impacted against the shields. The shields were holding, but barely. All around him, warning lights flashed. Damage reports flooded in from across the fleet. They were losing ships faster than he could count. How are they doing this? His tactical officer asked in disbelief. Our intelligence said humans had inferior technology. Thennis understood now. The intelligence had been wrong. Or more accurately, humanity had lied. For 73 years, they had pretended to be weak. They had hidden their true capabilities. They had waited for the right moment. And now that moment had come. Engineer Lee watched the battle from her control center on Mars. Her cyber warfare team had been waiting for this moment. She nodded to her chief technician. Activate the virus packages. For years, human hackers had been quietly inserting code into Council computer systems. Small pieces of programming that did nothing until activated. Now they activated all at once. Across the Council fleet, ships began experiencing system failures. Navigation computers gave wrong coordinates. Weapons targeting systems malfunctioned. Communication channels became scrambled. Some ships even began firing on their own allies as their friend or foe identification systems were corrupted. The Council had ancient computer systems. Powerful but old. They had been designed thousands of years ago when cybersecurity was not a concern. Why would it be? Everyone in the Council used compatible systems. Everyone followed the same protocols. Nobody attacked from within the network itself. Until humans did exactly that, Marshal Thennis realized his fleet was beaten. He had started the battle with 200 ships. Now he had maybe 120 still functional. The humans had lost ships too, but far fewer, and they were still fighting with the same intensity. No sign of exhaustion, no hesitation, just relentless coordinated aggression. He opened a secure channel to Council command. We need reinforcements immediately. The humans are more powerful than we thought. We cannot win this battle with current forces. The response came quickly. Hold your position. Reinforcements are being prepared. Do not retreat. The Council does not flee from primitives, Thennis wanted to argue. He wanted to explain that these were not primitives. These were dangerous, prepared, and very angry humans who had been planning this for decades. But orders were orders. He closed the channel and tried to rally his fleet. Then something unexpected happened. The human fleet stopped attacking. They pulled back to defensive positions around Earth. Admiral Kim's voice broadcast on all frequencies. Marshal Thennis, You have lost this battle. You know it, I know it. More importantly, everyone watching knows it. You opened fire on our home. We defended ourselves. The laws of war are clear. You are the aggressor. We are the defenders. You can leave now with the ships you have left, or you can stay and lose them all. Choose. Dennis looked at his tactical display. Kim was right. If the battle continued, the Council fleet would be destroyed. But Council Command had ordered him to hold position. If he retreated, he would be punished for cowardice. If he stayed, his fleet would die. There was no good choice. Before he could decide, Engineer Lee made the decision for him. She activated the final part of her cyber attack. The jump gate network that connected all of Council space suddenly became active, but not the way it was supposed to. Every jump gate in Council space received the same transmission at the same moment. Video footage of the battle. Clear images of Council ships attacking Earth first. Clear images of Council ships being defeated. And most damaging of all, clear images of Marshal Thenis receiving orders to hold position even as his fleet died around him. The transmission went to every species in the Galactic Council, every news network, every government, every military base. Within minutes, billions of beings across hundreds of worlds knew what was happening at Earth. The Council was being defeated. The invincible rulers of the galaxy were losing to a species they had called primitive. Dennis felt the weight of history pressing on him. This was not just a military defeat. This was the end of Council supremacy. If humans could win, other species would believe they could win too. Rebellions would spread. The entire power structure would collapse. His second officer spoke quietly. Marshal, our ships are requesting permission to retreat. Morale is breaking. If we stay, they may refuse to fight. Dennis made his decision. All ships begin withdrawal. Emergency jump to Council space. We are leaving. The Council fleet began to pull back, trying to reach safe distance for a faster-than-light jump. But Admiral Kim was not done. As the Council ships retreated, human forces targeted Thenis' flagship specifically. Railgun fire and missile strikes overwhelmed its shields. The flagship's engines failed. It began drifting helplessly. The rest of the Council fleet jumped away, abandoning their commander. Thenis sat in his darkened bridge and waited. Human Marines would board soon. He would be a prisoner, the first Council Marshal ever captured by an enemy. The shame was overwhelming. Captain Park led the boarding team personally. They found Thenis sitting calmly in his command chair. He did not resist. There was no point. Park looked at the defeated Marshal. You should have left when we gave you the chance. Thenis nodded slowly. I had orders, Park understood. Orders were orders. Duty was duty. Even when it led to disaster, so do we. Our orders are to defend our home by any means necessary. You threatened our home. This is the result. The Battle of Earth lasted 4 hours. Human casualties were 42 ships destroyed, and 3,400 personnel killed. Council casualties were 127 ships destroyed or captured, 98,000 personnel killed or captured. The most powerful military fleet in Council history had been defeated by a species that joined the Council less than a century ago. Ambassador Hong made a public statement that was broadcast across all of Council space. We did not want this war. We wanted justice. We wanted dignity. We wanted to be treated as equals. The Council refused. They laughed at our dead. They threatened our world. So we showed them the consequences of that choice. Humanity is no longer asking for a seat at the Council table. We are building a new table. Any species tired of Council oppression is welcome to join us. The message was clear. The old order was over. A new era had begun, and the Galactic Council was about to discover that everything they thought they knew about power was wrong. The Galactic Council meeting chamber erupted in chaos. Representatives from 50 different species shouted at each other. Some demanded immediate military action against humanity. Others called for investigation into how the Council had been so badly defeated. A few quietly suggested that maybe humanity had legitimate complaints. The Vrel High Commander stood at the center podium. His forearms gestured angrily. This is an outrage. A primitive species has attacked Council forces. We must respond with overwhelming force. We must make an example of Earth. A Thane general spoke next. His voice was calmer but no less intense. I agree that action is needed. But we must acknowledge what happened. Marshal Thenis attacked first. The humans defended their home system. Under Council law, that is their right. The Vrel commander turned on him. You defend them? They humiliated us. They captured one of our marshals. They broadcast our defeat to the entire galaxy. The Thane general stood his ground. I defend the truth. We underestimated them. Our intelligence failed. Our tactics failed. We failed. And now every species in council space knows it. The question is what we do next. For 3 days the council debated. Arguments became heated. Old alliances fractured. Species that had been oppressed for centuries saw an opportunity. If the humans could resist, maybe they could too. Species that had benefited from the old system desperately tried to maintain control. The vote, when it finally came, was close. But the result was clear. The council would assemble a grand fleet, the largest military force in 1,000 years. 5,000 warships from 18 different species. Humanity would be crushed completely. The fleet would be commanded by High Admiral Corvin, a Thane military leader known for his ruthless efficiency. Corvin was a true believer in council supremacy. He had spent his entire life enforcing council law. The idea that humans could challenge that law offended everything he believed. He volunteered for the command personally. His orders were simple. Go to Earth, destroy their military, occupy their worlds, make sure no other species ever thinks about rebellion again. The fleet would take 6 months to assemble, but when it arrived, humanity would have no chance of survival. Or so the council believed. On Earth, Admiral Kim received intelligence reports about the Grand Fleet. 5,000 ships. 3 planet-killer dreadnoughts, the best warriors from 18 species. The numbers were overwhelming. Even with their advantages, humanity could not win a direct battle against that kind of force. He called a meeting with his senior commanders. Captain Park, Engineer Lee, Ambassador Hong, and Dr. Cho gathered in a secure conference room. Kim laid out the situation honestly. We won the Battle of Earth because we had surprise and superior tactics. We will not have surprise a second time. The Council knows what we can do now. They will prepare for it. And they will bring enough force to overwhelm any defense we can mount. Ambassador Hong spoke first. Can we negotiate? We have proven our strength. Maybe the Council will agree to better terms. Dr. Cho shook her head. I have been monitoring Council communications. They are humiliated. The Vrel especially. They cannot allow this defeat to stand. They would rather destroy us completely than admit we were right to resist. Captain Park studied the tactical display showing the expected fleet composition. Then we do not fight them directly. We cannot win that battle, so we change the battle. We make them fight on our terms, not theirs. Engineer Lee understood immediately. Guerrilla warfare. Hit-and-run attacks. Make them spread their forces. Attack their supply lines. Make the war too expensive to continue. Kim nodded slowly. Exactly. We have 6 months before their fleet is ready. We use that time. We take the war to them. We hit their shipyards. We destroy their supplies. We make alliances with other species. We turn this from a battle into a long war. And we make sure they lose more than they can afford. The plan was ambitious. Some would call it desperate. But desperate times required desperate measures. Humanity had come too far to surrender now. Dr. Cho had good news to share. I have been in contact with several species. The Melkari have agreed to join us. Their queens are tired of Thane slavery. The Torvan elders have also agreed. They will provide resources and intelligence. 4 other smaller species are considering it. Our diplomatic offensive is working. Hong was impressed. That is remarkable. A few weeks ago, no species would dare ally with us. Now we have the foundation of a real coalition. Cho explained her strategy. The Battle of Earth changed everything. We proved the Council could be beaten. Every oppressed species saw that. They have been waiting for someone to lead. We are that someone now. We just have to show them we can survive long enough to matter. Over the next 6 months, humanity launched Operation Enduring Storm. Captain Park led fast attack squadrons deep into Council space. They struck shipyards, destroyed supply depots, and disabled orbital facilities. They never stayed to fight prolonged battles. They hit hard and disappeared before Council forces could respond. Engineer Lee's cyber warfare team caused chaos across Council networks. Automated systems malfunctioned. Communication channels became unreliable. The Jumpgate network had random failures. Financial systems crashed. The Council economy, which had been stable for thousands of years, began experiencing problems it had never faced before. The Melkari provided intelligence that was invaluable. They had been slaves for so long that the Council no longer paid attention to them. They could move freely, observe freely, and report everything they saw. They told humans where Council forces were weak. They identified which species were unhappy with Council rule. They became the eyes and ears of the resistance. The Torvin provided something equally important: resources. Their mining operations produced the metals and minerals needed for ship construction. Under Council rule, they had been forced to sell everything at fixed prices. Now they gave it to the human coalition freely. Production of human warships increased dramatically. High Admiral Corvin watched his preparations with growing frustration. The Grand Fleet was nearly ready. But the situation had changed. Humans were not waiting at Earth for him to arrive. They were everywhere. His supply lines were under constant attack. His shipyards had been bombed 3 times. Species he thought were loyal were secretly communicating with humans. This was not the simple, punitive mission he had expected. He called a meeting with his senior officers. "We need to change strategy. The humans are not fighting like a normal military. They are fighting like terrorists. Hit-and-run attacks, sabotage, propaganda. We need to bring them to a decisive battle," one of his officers suggested. "We could threaten their colonies, force them to defend specific locations. Then we destroy them when they try to protect their people." Corvin considered this. It was brutal. It would mean civilian casualties. But he was running out of options. The longer this war continued, the more species joined the humans. The more the Council looked weak. He needed to end this quickly. "We will target their largest colony, New Mars. We will bombard it from orbit until the humans come to defend it. Then we will destroy their fleet completely. The war will end in one decisive engagement." The plan was set. The Grand Fleet would attack New Mars in 2 weeks. Corvin was confident. 5,000 ships against whatever ragtag force the humans could assemble. It would be a slaughter. The Council would be avenged. Order would be restored. But Admiral Kim had known this attack was coming. The Melkery had warned him about Corvin's plans. Engineer Lee had intercepted the communications. Kim had been preparing for this moment. He had moved his forces into position. He had set another trap. And this time the prize would not be a single marshal. It would be the entire Grand Fleet. Dr. Cho sent one final message to her network of allied species. "The decisive battle is coming. If we win, the Council falls. If we lose, we all return to slavery. Watch what happens at New Mars. And be ready to choose your side." The Grand Fleet departed Council space with great ceremony. 5,000 warships, the pride of 18 species. Corvin stood on the bridge of his massive dreadnought and felt confident. Humanity had fought well, but their luck was about to run out. The Council's full might was coming for them, and this time there would be no escape. The fleet entered faster-than-light travel, heading for New Mars. They expected to find a desperate human defense. They expected to crush it easily. They expected to end the war. What they would find instead was something they never anticipated. A lesson in what happens when you push humans past their breaking point. A demonstration that sometimes the hunted becomes the hunter, and proof that the greatest empires fall not with a whisper, but with a catastrophic miscalculation. The trap was set. The players were in position, and the future of the galaxy would be decided in the Battle of New Mars. The Grand Fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the New Mars system. 5,000 warships arranged in perfect formation. High Admiral Corvin stood on the bridge of his dreadnought and looked at the tactical display with satisfaction. The human colony world hung in space before them, undefended. Or so it appeared. "Where is their fleet?" his tactical officer asked. "We expected them to defend this colony." Corvin frowned. Something felt wrong. "Begin scanning the entire system. Maximum sensor range. They have to be here somewhere." The sensors swept across the system. Empty space. Some asteroids. The colony itself. No sign of human military forces. No sign of the trap that Corvin suspected must exist. He had studied the Battle of Earth carefully. Humans liked ambushes. They liked surprise attacks. But this time there was nothing. Then his communications officer spoke urgently. "Admiral, we are receiving a transmission. From Admiral Kim. Put it on the main screen," Corvin ordered. Admiral Kim appeared. He was not on a ship bridge. He was standing in what looked like a command center on a planetary surface. He looked calm. Almost relaxed. "Hi, Admiral Corvin. Welcome to New Mars. Or more accurately, welcome to what used to be New Mars. We evacuated the colony 3 days ago. Every civilian is gone. The planet below you is empty except for automated defense systems. You came here expecting a battle. Instead, you have found an empty world. Congratulations on your great victory. Corvin felt anger rise in his chest. This was mockery. Humans had known his plan. They had known he would come here. And they had simply left, refusing to fight the battle he wanted. Where are you? Corvin demanded. Where is your fleet? Kim smiled slightly. Everywhere and nowhere. You brought 5,000 ships to attack one colony. Meanwhile, my forces are attacking 6 different council systems. Your shipyards, your supply depots, your industrial centers. While you chase ghosts, we are destroying the infrastructure that supports your war. You cannot protect everything at once, but we can hit anything we choose. The transmission ended. Corvin stood frozen. Then reports began flooding in from across council space. Human forces had attacked simultaneously at multiple locations. Using their independent faster-than-light drives, they had struck targets hundreds of light years apart at the same moment. Major shipyards destroyed, supply depots burned, communication stations disabled. The damage was enormous, and Corvin's grand fleet was sitting in an empty system, having accomplished nothing. This was the beginning of 18 months of brutal warfare. Not the kind of warfare the Council understood. Not massive fleet battles with clear winners and losers. Instead, it was a war of frustration and exhaustion. Humans refused to fight on Council terms. They attacked when and where they chose. They disappeared before Council forces could respond. They made the war expensive and endless. Captain Park led raids across 3 sectors. His fast attack squadrons became legendary. They would appear without warning, destroy their targets, and vanish. Council forces tried to trap them repeatedly. Every time, Park was already gone. His tactics were studied by other species. His victories inspired more rebellions. Engineer Lee's cyber warfare reached new heights of sophistication. Council computers could not be trusted anymore. Jump gates malfunctioned regularly. Automated systems did unexpected things. Financial networks crashed. The Council economy, which had been the foundation of their power, began collapsing. Trade became difficult. Industries shut down. Unemployment spread. And everyone knew who was responsible. Dr. Cho's diplomatic network grew larger. More species joined the coalition of free peoples. Some contributed military forces. Others provided intelligence. Some simply declared neutrality, refusing to support the Council anymore. Each defection weakened the Council further. Each new ally made humanity stronger. High Admiral Corvin's grand fleet became spread across dozens of systems, trying to protect everything. But you cannot protect everything. Wherever the fleet was not, humans attacked. Supply lines stretched thin. Ships needed repairs, but shipyards were destroyed. Soldiers needed food and ammunition, but supply depots were burned. The Grand Fleet was still powerful, but it was slowly starving. The turning point came at the Battle of Epsilon Eridani. Corvin received intelligence that the entire human fleet was gathering there. This time he was certain it was real. His intelligence sources had been verified carefully. He took his remaining 4,000 ships and jumped to Epsilon Eridani, determined to end the war once and for all. It was another trap. The intelligence had come from Melkari agents who were secretly working for Dr. Cho. The fleet at Epsilon Eridani was real, but it was mostly automated drone ships. And the human forces waiting in ambush were not where Corvin expected. The Grand Fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel directly into a kill zone. Human ships and their coalition allies were positioned at the jump point exit. As Council ships appeared, they were hit immediately with concentrated fire. There was no time to maneuver, no time to form defensive positions, just brutal, overwhelming attacks from unexpected angles. The 3 remaining planet-killer dreadnoughts became priority targets. Railguns from 50 different ships hit them simultaneously. Their shields, designed to withstand orbital bombardment, could not handle that kind of focused kinetic attack. 1 dreadnought exploded. 2 more were crippled and began spinning helplessly. Admiral Kim's voice broadcast across all channels. High Admiral Corvin, surrender now. Your fleet is beaten. Your dreadnoughts are destroyed. Your supply lines are cut. You cannot win. End this before more people die. Corvin looked at his tactical display. 2,000 ships lost in the first hour of battle. His dreadnoughts gone. His formation in chaos. Kim was right. The Grand Fleet was beaten, but pride is a terrible thing. Corvin could not accept defeat, could not admit that primitives had beaten him. He ordered his remaining ships to continue fighting. The battle became a massacre. Human forces systematically destroyed council ships one by one. There was no mercy, no quarter given. This was the price of refusing to surrender. When Corvin's flagship was finally disabled, Captain Park led the boarding team again. They found Corvin sitting in his command chair staring at nothing. His entire fleet destroyed. His career ended. His pride shattered. Park looked at the defeated admiral. You were given a chance to save your people. You chose pride instead. Corvin said nothing. There was nothing to say. The Battle of Epsilon Eridani destroyed the Council's ability to wage war. The Grand Fleet was gone. No reinforcements existed. The Vrel economy had collapsed. The Thane military was exhausted. Other Council species were either in rebellion or had declared neutrality. The ancient power structure that had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years was finished. Ambassador Hong received the message he had been waiting for. The Galactic Council requested peace negotiations. After 18 months of war, after countless battles, after devastating losses, the Council was ready to admit defeat. They wanted to negotiate terms for ending the conflict. Hong gathered his team: Admiral Kim, Captain Park, Engineer Lee, and Dr. Cho. They had fought this war together. Now they would negotiate the peace together. Kim spoke first. What terms do we demand? Hong had prepared a list. Complete independence for all coalition species, reparations for the New Jeju massacre and all war damages, dissolution of all oppressive trade agreements, free access to all technologies, war crimes tribunals for officials responsible for atrocities, and a complete restructuring of the Galactic Council to ensure equal representation. Lee added one more item, and they must publicly acknowledge that the war was their fault, that they started it by attacking Earth, that everything that followed was their choice. The others agreed. It was not just about winning the war. It was about changing the entire system that had caused the war. It was about making sure this could never happen again. The peace negotiations took 3 months. The Council tried to negotiate easier terms. They tried to save face. They tried to maintain some of their old authority. Hong refused every compromise. Humanity and their coalition had won this war completely. The terms would reflect that. In the end, the Council accepted everything. They had no choice. The Vrel sovereignty, too proud to participate, withdrew from the Council entirely. They retreated to their core systems and closed their borders. The Thane Collective, more practical, accepted the new reality. They proposed a mutual defense treaty with humanity. Other species began applying to join the coalition of free peoples. The war had lasted 23 months. It had cost thousands of lives and trillions in resources. But it had achieved something that centuries of diplomacy never could. It had ended an unjust system. It had created a new order based on equality rather than domination. It had proven that no empire, no matter how ancient or powerful, could survive when built on oppression. Admiral Kim stood at the memorial wall on Earth, looking at the names of the dead. So many names. So much sacrifice. He thought about the colonists on New Jeju, whose deaths had started everything. He hoped they would have approved of what humanity had done, what humanity had built from their tragedy. A young Melkari officer approached. She was a recent graduate of the Coalition Academy. She thanked Kim for what humanity had done. For showing that change was possible, Kim nodded slowly. We did what we had to do.